everybody, this is your last lesson this week on Beowulf. Tomorrow it'll be a spelling or spag, I don't know yet, but there's going to be 4 Beowulf lessons every week. Hope you had a good week so far. And today you're going to be writing, it's kind of like writing a description of the scene and how everybody's feeling, but I think it might be a good idea to do it as a diary entry. So you're pretending that you're Beowulf at the end of today, because at the end of the day they sort of go to sleep in the actual hall where Grendel does all the attacks and in Heorot. So you could write it like you're Beowulf, thinking about what's to come and about what's happened in the hall that evening. Okay, so they've just arrived in Denmark. They've all got off their boat and they're going to meet the king. As Beowulf and his companions entered Heorot and looked round in wonder, the noise fell back in front of them. Watched by curious Danes, they walked up a silent clearing, right up to the king, ensconced on his throne. Greetings, Hrothgar. I am Beowulf, the Geat, Ecgtheow's son. Ecgtheow's son? Hrothgar's kind old face was creased and grey. You are welcome then, and so are your companions. Is it true, Beowulf demanded, this hall, even your own hall, is unsafe after dark? Hrothgar grimaced. Every day at dusk, the talking must stop, drinking must stop. Those still alive have to leave this hall. I, said Beowulf, am 30 strong. I am going to crush this monster in single combat. And I've heard this monster is so reckless that he does without weapons, Beowulf said. Hrothgar's face crumpled in pain. I'll fight on equal terms then, no sword. Beowulf, objected Hrothgar, and no yellow shield. I'll grapple this fiend hand to hand. Beowulf paused. Hygelac, my king, would expect no less. Beowulf, began Hrothgar, but the Geat cut him off a second time. And he should have this coat of mail if I die, this corselet made by Wayland. Send it back to Hygelac. As you asked, said Hrothgar. First, said Hrothgar, putting a hand on Beowulf's arm and turning him round to face the Danish warriors, take your place at our feast. Eat and drink after your long journey. A bench was cleared for the 15 Geats. One man brought hunks of boiled pork and another wholemeal bread. A third carried an arm cask and an adorned ale cup, and each of the warriors emptied it in one draught. They stretched and relaxed. Their blood began to sing. Then, I've skipped a bit, but then the queen comes through, and her name is Wealhtheow, or Wealhtheow. Flanked by her 2 ladies, Wealhtheow came in. Lady, Beowulf said, I have come to deliver your people, or die in Grendel's clutches. This is my choice. Here, in this hall, I'll kill this monster, or lay down my life. 12 winters without hope, said Wealhtheow slowly. She paused and smiled sadly at the Geat. At least we have hope tonight. Since it was built, called Hrothgar, this great hall, Heorot, has never been guarded by anyone but Danes. Take it. Look after it. Give no quarter, Beowulf. Then all the Danish warriors rose from their seats and, led by Hrothgar and his queen, they made their way out of the hall and into the gathering dark, away to the safety of the outbuildings. There was almost silence in Heorot. The Geats looked around. They listened to the hall creak in the small night wind. and they began to lay aside their helmets and their corslets. Then each man took a bolster from one corner of the hall and found himself a sleeping place. "Leave him to me," said Beowulf. "I'll fight him, hand to hand." The Geats lay down and they spoke in low voices. Except for Beowulf, not one of them believed that he would see the next day or dawn, or ever go back to his family and friends. Okay, that's the end of today's bit of reading. So you've got to now write a diary entry for Beowulf. Not that he would write a diary at this point because he's waiting on tenterhooks to see if Grendel's going to attack. But if you were Beowulf, what would he be thinking now? But I want you also, he's going to be feeling nervous, apprehensive, scared. Also, you know, he's very, very brave, isn't he? Lots and lots of courage. But he is going to be thinking that he's ready to fight. But also I want you to try and maybe explain how some of the other people may have been feeling. So you could think about how Hrothgar and his wife, the Queen, are feeling. And you could write maybe how they're really hoping that Beowulf might be able to do this, might be able to kill Grendel, and that they might be able to use their big hall again and not have all these people being murdered all of the time. You might also think about how the other Danes were all feeling, that they've all left to the safety of their houses. Maybe they're worrying about Beowulf, but they're also going to be hoping that he is going to actually finally do it because nobody else has managed. You might want to write about how the other Geats are feeling. They're all sleeping in the hall and they know that Grendel, this monster, is going to come. And they're going to be worrying about Beowulf, who's their kind of leader, their main warrior also, because Beowulf said, "I'm going to stand up and fight him with no sword, no shield, hand to hand." So you can think about all of that. Maybe try and write 2 paragraphs if you can. It's the last lesson on Beowulf this week. So try and make it a good one and try and use lots of description about how everybody's feeling, maybe about how he enjoyed the feast and drank lots of the mead from the mead horn and everybody was happy, but they're nervous and worried at the same time. It's a real mixture of feelings. Okay, good luck, and hope you have a good weekend. There's one sort of spelling lesson tomorrow, but after that you've got a fun weekend, and I'll see you next Monday for the next clip of Beowulf. Bye bye.